That's all I'm going to say.
If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, whether you're a real estate agent, you're in mortgages, finance, accounting, title, you're advising anyone in any financial capacity, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole here with Lisa Chinatti, not a cat person, and Byron Lazine. And you two, we've been going off about this all morning, prepping for the show. There was I'm going to call it a horrible article in the Wall Street Journal from the CEO of Realtor.com. And really, when reading through the article, and we've been talking about this since, the past 2 hours, there's a real miss here by what's thought to be a leader within the industry. There's downward pressure on commission pricing. There's just a lot of stuff that could have been done differently. And it looks like a lazy, short article. It's a 2-minute read. What do you two think about this?
I want to preface all of my thoughts with the same things I've said in the past. Some of the people at Realtor.com are some of the most amazing people in the industry. I have a lot of respect for them. Full disclosure, all three of us are partners with Realtor.com. Yes. So there's that. And knowing yesterday this article was going to be released in the Wall Street Journal this morning, I woke up looking forward to it. I woke up excited about, in my opinion, finally, Realtor.com leveraging one of their partners, the Wall Street Journal, to send out a message that can maybe help educate consumers. Unfortunately, I think this article did more to confuse consumers. There's over 500 comments. I mean, one of the things that we have to acknowledge as folks in the real estate industry is, as of recording this, there's 511 comments on the article in just, a couple hours of it being posted. 90+% of them are not good for real estate professionals across the country. They weren't positive comments. A large majority of the comments, as you read through, are clearly folks who are more confused than they were before reading this article. This article could have been so much more. I mean, let me just go through a couple of the things. Paragraph number 2, I think, catches my eye in particular. Damian Eales, CEO of Realtor.com, and this is an op-ed piece, says the settlement is a positive development. So the proposed settlement, obviously he's referring to, it could lower real estate agents' commissions, benefiting home buyers. It also increases transparency and negotiating power for home buyers who use agents for representation. Agree with sentence number 2 that transparency out of the proposed settlement is going to go up. There's going to be a professional standard that moves up, and we all want and desire that. The first sentence, that it's could lower real estate agents' commissions, and that's benefiting home buyers. There's a lot of discussion around that, which this article lacks the depth to get into it. The settlement will also increase professionalism among agents. But then the last sentence of this particular paragraph, these policies should put downward pressure on commission prices, which currently average 5.3 and are split between buyer and seller agents. So Damian Eales, CEO of Realtor.com, is, maybe he's falling a little bit short of advocating. He's certainly foreshadowing commissions going down in this country. Not sure if that's a great thing for the current Realtor.com model, but he's predicting or foreshadowing that, maybe just short of even advocating for it.
Yeah, so I'll share. I'm going to add my preface as well. I am a huge partner with Realtor.com. I'm a huge advocate for Realtor.com. And I love the people who work at Realtor.com. I've had nothing but amazing experiences with them from start to finish. But I agree that there was some marks missed with the article. And I think I understand what the intent was going in, and looking at the marketing package that we received yesterday with what the intention was, spelling out the 100+ things that real estate agents do on buy-side representation. I can see what they were trying to accomplish. And I think that earlier in the article, I have to pull it up, I believe there was some talk about protecting consumer interests and that kind of stuff, which is important. Where I would have loved, and I've said this, I've texted some folks at realtor.com, where I would have loved to see them go is that the transparency definitely should be increased, that the ability to negotiate commissions, which has always existed, is going to continue. And that one of the biggest things that will come out of this is an elevation of the industry and an elevation of the customer experience, and bringing back, I don't even know if back is the right word, but bringing a level of professionalism to the industry that I think consumers have been screaming for, that they want, that we've been failing to deliver at broad scale. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The advertisement piece that you're referring to, the 111, here's going to be a paid advertisement. You'll see. So you're ready to buy a home. Here's your next 111 to-dos. You can't read any of the text. They're using this on advertisement. It's kind of like a launch here with this op-ed from Damian.
Right.
And it's not unlike anything you haven't seen before, to be quite frank. Realtor.com, or not Realtor.com, National Association of Realtors has their 105 things a buyer agent does that they've published, long ago. Tom Ferry has his 90 things a buyer agent does. I mean, in your market, based on what you do and what you offer, you're going to have your 80 to 120 things, all valuable information that you need to get out there. This isn't it's not a big wow moment for me. The marketing piece that they put out doesn't relate to how you market on social media. I mean, I don't know who designed this piece, who was the graphic person at RDC that designed this piece, but it's not ready made for social. It won't convert. It's not going to do well. It's not going to speak to consumers. That's the reality of the piece. I like the 111 things being said, and I think every agent in every market should be putting together all of the services that they provide. No question about it. It can be a useful tool. The text is so small I can't even read it, but it could be a useful tool when you go through it. The other piece of the article I want to address here is, so dramatically slashing commissions can be achieved by only reducing the use of the buyer agent. But he goes on to say that buyers' costs will be reduced with the proposed settlement.
Well, if they don't have an agent, Byron, and they don't use anybody, and they go right to the listing agent, but there's a lot to unpack here.
But that's not actually true. I
agree with you.
I'm going to try to find the exact line. I mean, this is such a short piece. It's only 2 minutes. This really should have been a lengthy piece because there's a lot of ways that you could go into this. I don't know, Tom, if you can find the exact line, because I paraphrased it. I'd love to.
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
I'll find it here in a second. But talking about reducing the cost of a buyer, that is not true. The money out of pocket for a buyer, no matter what happens with the proposed settlement or the DOJ, is not going to go down from what we've seen the last couple of decades. The buyer has historically paid X price, and no seller is going to reduce that price based on how commissions are being paid. So if anything, buyer costs, especially when you look at first-time home buyers in these situations, may be going up. There won't be one seller in the country that says, oh, after reading the proposed settlement, I'd like to go out to the market at a lower price than I could obtain. I'd like a lower price than what the market will dictate. That's never going to happen. So he doesn't even get the dynamics of how the market works.
Here's the part of the article, Byron. So discouraging the use of buyer's agents would reverse this progress. He talks about the progress that was made when buyer agency became a thing in the 90s, just as a reference point.
And he's an advocate for that. Of course, everybody is.
Although it would likely lower buyers' costs, it would do so at the price of sacrificing their interests. Without a buyer's agent, no one would be legally required to help buyers understand their risks and options. There would be nothing to stop sellers' agents from increasing their commissions to match what previously went to buyers' agents. So again, I mean, you add X% on to these costs. That's just, it's not factual. It's if a buyer wants representation, their costs go up if the seller doesn't offer out a commission. And you mentioned that that comment earlier here where you talked about it could lower real estate agents' commissions, benefiting home buyers. I don't, even if it also increases transparency, that's great, but that doesn't necessarily benefit buyers, because if their commissions go down, right, in this market, I mean, what's your average inventory, everybody? In the suburbs, we're at 1.3 months supply right now. So the sellers are going to get what they get, and they're going to be some better buyers agents that are willing to have clients that are willing to compensate them. So it's not always the case here. This is just it's a gloss over. And then to boot, Rich Barton decides to dust off his Twitter account because he hasn't used it since March 4th and chimes in. I mean, it's been, hey, opportunity for me to come out here, and he tweets this tweet. I'm going to read it to you guys here. We found it
put the
Zillow
tweet up too, Bobby, in the post edit.
Yeah, great. We found at Zillow to turn on the lights for regular consumers in the real estate industry. There's a great deal of conversation happening right now about how the industry should evolve to further empower consumers. Given the debate, I wanted to point out our published Real Estate Rights for Consumers. It's a short, good read and captures what we've been believing since our founding. Our 3 key points are free and fair access to all listings. That's been the case for decades now. Independent representation and transparent and negotiable compensation for agents. I'm highlighting this now because the CEO of Realtor.com, Damian Eales, has an op-ed in today's Wall Street Journal sharing his valuable thoughts on points 2 and 3 from above. And, again, I'm a Zillow partner, right? I work with Realtor.com. These have been good things for our business, so I support that. But I don't understand these two CEOs coming out and, like, this is where they get a lot of revenue from. They get
especially
it from people that are working with them, especially Zillow. And I just don't get it. I mean, I get it because I think we know that they think real estate agents, Rich Barton had a bad experience, right? He's talked about this many times, but then he has these events and they want agents to come and be their partners. And it's like, what are you doing here, guys?
Well, I mean, this is brilliant marketing or PR, whatever you want to call it, from Rich Barton, because if Damian's opinions that he shared in the Wall Street Journal piece this morning become, the way of the land, who benefits from his opinions? It's Rich Barton and Zillow. It's Homes.com and Andy Florence. The beneficiary of Damian's opinions are not the consumer, and they're not Realtor.com. And I want Realtor.com to win. I'm going to say it again. I love the way all the partners, everybody there treats their partners like professionals. The way in which they treat the real estate community in which they partner with and work with them is at the highest level of the industry. Also, my agents love getting a Realtor.com lead because they do a much more diligent pre-qualification process. I mean, there's 200 million leads that are generated in these online portals per year. There's only 4 million transactions seasonally adjusted, give or take, 5 million, 5.5 million, 6 million in very strong or record years. So there's 195 million leads that go through these portals, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes, whatever, that don't buy. They roll over to the next year, become a new lead the next year, and they just roll over. One thing Realtor.com is doing, which is a benefit to real estate professionals, is they're doing more pre-qualification. So are they generating less and delivering less leads? Yeah, they are. They have a little bit less traffic, but they've said, hey, we have a more qualified buyer. My agent sentiment based on our market and all of the leads that we get validate that statement. So I love that. Okay. But who gets hurt if Damian's opinions are true, where, hey, buyers aren't going to value basically what he's saying is buyers aren't going to value their buyer agent to the degree that they've been compensated in the past. Their commissions are going to be driven down because they're going to value it at a lower rate when they negotiate, which really, actually, the great agents, Lisa's proven this in her market, are negotiating a commission that, might even blow some agents' minds because they value the service that's being provided from what they're doing. But if Damian's right, okay, and commissions are driven down, Zillow's 10, 11, 12 billion dollar market cap company. Homes.com has got money to spend for the next 10 years. And, Zillow and realtor.com are kind of just like they're just like a gnat in comparison to what homes.com has in market cap, right? Like they can just outspend and outspend. Like when we're talking about bank accounts, realtor.com's third on that pecking order in the sense of the ability to keep investing. And so if this were to be true based on their current model, they're the ones that get hurt by Damian's beliefs.
Ugh, that's all I'm going to say.
Lisa can't say anything because she doesn't want to upset anybody. She's playing the two-faced game right now.
I am not. I've been I actually said, I think that they missed the mark. I believe that there's a lot that could have been said to actually have a positive outcome. What I will add, because I am very, very pro realtor.com, is to your point, Byron, I don't only think that they do a better job qualifying the opportunities that they send into our agents, but I believe that the consumers that visit realtor.com are a different level of consumers than those that visit Zillow. Now, of course, there is overlap where we get the same consumer visiting both, but I believe just based upon the name that those consumers who visit realtor.com are looking for a professional versus somebody who's visiting Zillow, which, like I said, just slightly different. I will give, I'll toss shade where it's due, right? Missed the mark, but I'll also give them credit on a lot of the work that they've been doing over the past couple of months for the agent community with driving a much higher quality lead. They're finally starting to leverage their partners. Unfortunately, for this one, I believe it was a miss, but they've got massive connections to a whole bunch of outlets where they could have a very potent voice in the industry.
Where I've been critical is that they have all these partnerships with News Corp, and I'm like, when are we going to start seeing positivity come out of the News Corp? And then, okay, here it is. Here's the moment. Damian Eales doing this op-ed. It's a 2-minute read. It's a sloppy effort, to say the least, from the CEO. If you put some effort into this, what does effort look like? What could they have done differently? Well, you could have reached out to Lisa. Hey, could you proofread my opinion piece? Hey, it's clearly my opinion, but it's 2 minutes, so I probably wrote it on a flight or something. Not a lot of effort there. Get an opinion from Lisa. Get an opinion from Tom Toole. Certainly reach out to me. I'm not shy to share my opinions. There's no question about that. You've got other great partners across the country. Gary Ashton, who's a phenomenal partner of Realtor.
Robert Slack.
James Dwiggins, who they've partnered with for a lot of stuff.
James Dwiggins, DJ and Lindsay. Yep. How about some of these, some of these brokers and team leaders who are looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions a year, who partner with Zillow to support a significant percentage of their business, get their opinion. This piece could have been gone into much more depth. It could have done a much better job of breaking down some of these misconceptions that consumers had. I also think something they can do differently is start to even, like you made the point, Lisa, people go there because of the name Realtor. I think there's got to be a little bit of separation with that, because the name Realtor is going to continue to, have some shots taken at it. But we're going to have a chance to go a little bit deeper on this. When's Damian coming on the pod?
May 10th, I believe, is the date that we picked.
Unless he cancels again after this. I don't know. Maybe not.
No, I don't think he'll cancel.
I'm kidding.
I don't think. I mean, listen, that'd be a terrible move.
The kicker is, I think he's got some really valuable insights as somebody who, spent most of his life outside the U.S. buying and selling real estate in a completely different fashion. And I think that he can offer a lot of insights to the pitfalls for what happens in an industry where there isn't buyer representation and where things are handled very differently. I know he's got a lot of knowledge on that side of things, and I think can lend a voice to agents and consumers understanding why representation is so important.
So coming up, that'll be, I guess, maybe 3 pods from now, we'll have Damian on here. I won't forget about this article, so we'll certainly going to look for
You
we're going to
don't
look for
say.
Damian. We'll look for
Byron
him
doesn't
to
forget
elaborate.
anything.
No, I mean, I like remembering these moments in time, but we're going to look for Damian to elaborate. That's the benefit of a podcast. You know, we'll give him the benefit of a hiccup, Tom, to use other terms that have been thrown out there this week in the real estate industry. We'll give him the benefit of a hiccup here because in a few weeks we're going to get to go deep with Damian. Now, if he were to cancel on us again, and the first time was due to travel arrangements, if he tries to skirt out of this, I'll be just as critical about that move. I mean, there's a recent new CEO for a very large brokerage that didn't want to sit down and do a one-on-one pod at T3 with me.
Very disappointing, Byron. Very disappointing on that one.
It's very disappointing. The leaders, there's a clear commonality between the leaders who are having great success right now in this market of change, in this world of change, who are impacting agents of change. And it's the leaders who are on the ground floor with their people, with their community, with the consumers, who are doing the work, who aren't afraid to get on as many platforms as possible. The CEO that I'm talking about, I mean, very new CEO to one of the top worldwide legacy brokerages in the world. And she's too busy to sit down and get in front of a social media audience in front of BAM that she can't duplicate in the industry anywhere else. And I'm shocked that they turned that opportunity down. And nobody's too busy at T360. People walk around, eat,
Could be like Glenn Sanford when he just walked right through you like a cloud. I mean, he clearly didn't want to talk to you. But I mean, they're doing nothing at this conference. I've been there.
Sit around and eat stuffed mushrooms, past hors d'oeuvres, and it's not like there's no time. There's plenty of time to sit down and get in front of one of the largest agent audiences, and certainly the biggest and most impactful on social media, which is where pods get clipped up and go. All right, we'll talk to Damian in a couple of weeks, Tom.
Let's hit on that leadership thing you mentioned.
I was just going to say there's some stuff to unpack there.
All right, let's unpack that.
It's funny you said that because we're talking about leadership, and we were, again, talking before the pod. We have a lot of prep work that goes into this on the day-to-day in our businesses, and Lisa and I were sending photos of listing appointments we were on in the last 24 hours, right? And Byron, you said this to me, and this has really stuck with me, that this idea of team leaders getting out of the business, getting out of production. I feel like I'm more in it than ever right now on all facets. Now, maybe I'm bringing in an agent to take the client to the table because I've got other responsibilities. That, to me, in a time like this, where there's a lot of confusion, there's uncertainty about compensation, how people are going to get paid, how they're going to earn a living. And this is the only career I've ever had. So if you think that doesn't hit home for me, I mean, there's no backup plan here. I don't have like some other side hustle I'm going with. If I was looking for a place where I'm going to thrive in this new environment, I think you've got to be in a place where the leader's not afraid to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. Then the flip side of this, you mentioned a hiccup. We were talking earlier in the week about a local trash company here. I'm not going to mention the name. And it was two brothers. They got sold. Company gets bought, right? And then no one's picking up your trash, right? It gets all screwed up. Like all the operations get screwed up. And just imagine you have
an analogy, Tom.
No, it's not this is actually a real life case study. And then when these things happen and the leadership changes, right? Or the leadership isn't in it and they think they're going to be able to figure things out. I mean, you got a problem, right? I mean, am I right or wrong here? I mean, I think especially in this business, you've got to be rolling up your sleeves and getting in the trenches right now.
I don't think there's any way around it. I'm super cognizant that it's not just being able to be in it to impact the change, but I just look at it and say, we're in a pivot and understanding consumer sentiment. I don't understand how a leader can help agents script through it, understand it, unless they're sitting in front of it themselves and hearing it firsthand from the consumer. We can role play different scenarios all day, but until you actually hear it from the consumer, land it, test it, make the pivots and adjust on the fly, I don't think there's any way to circumvent that. It's all too new and it changes daily. Think about all of the press and the media attention. And every time a new article comes out, we're addressing it. Literally addressing it, sitting at dining room tables, talking about listings and buyers.
Yeah, and I just go back. You can see which leaders are from a broker's level, team level, independent level across the country, you can see which ones are really in it, are really doing the work. And guess what? The ones that are really in it, agent count is tied to that. You're seeing agent count go up in those teams, in those brokerages right now. And you're seeing agent count recede in the ones where the leader's like, I'm way too busy. I'm too important. Too many people want my time. Too many of the elites want my time for me to get in front of. Think about this. If you're too busy at a T3 summit as a leader to get in front of thousands of agents across the country with a brokerage where you need to be recruiting at all times and getting great agents, because you'd rather sit on one-on-one elite meetings, what does that say about your approach when you're going to recruit? What does that say about the time that you're going to spend once people join your company? That's without pointing any fingers at a particular company, but I'm just painting the analogy. If all you're willing to do is listen, this is why people hate politicians. They're looked at as elitists. They sit with their bureaucrats and their lobbyists, and they'll have these one-on-ones. But how often do you see them out there in the communities doing the actual work? You see sound bites, or you see an unwillingness to even comment. For CEOs and business owners and industry leaders to try that approach, you're not going to get very far. You might have friends in the industry that are going to continue to give you a job, but it's like over time, you're just going to see a receding in the impact that you're making in the agent count, and revenue will follow that, of course. So
now, the flip side of this, though, with Byron, is we were at T360 a couple of years ago, and we had plenty of people willing to sit down with us. Nick Bailey, Andrew Flackner. There was no issue, and those people are, Nick obviously doesn't work for Remax anymore, but there's some people that are willing to do it, and immediately, like, as it changes your opinion of these folks on such a level, and it makes you want to work with somebody. I think that's the thing people don't realize, is that it makes you even a better company when people are willing to give their time. And it's so shocking to me when you got people that you're saying, hey, come work at our team, right? I'm having this conversation constantly. If I'm not there backing it up, you know what's going to happen? They're going to leave. And that's really how it's how we've heard this from someone, we all know who I'm talking about here, how they are recruited ends up being the reason that they leave. So I think that's a big thing here. And you've really got to make sure you're backing up what you say. One of our values at our team is integrity, meaning it's not like being honest. That should be anywhere. But it's doing what you say you will, when you say you will. And that's a big deal. And accessibility, people come to an organization because of the leader. And if that leader's not there, like, I'm in my office every day. I know you guys are. Byron, you've done it. You've gotten even more in the trenches, right? We've talked a lot about this. So I think that's a big mistake for this particular company. And I don't know if it's going to bode well, because there's a lot of change right now. And if you think people aren't looking to jump, whether you're a tech company, you're a big brokerage, or a team, I got some news for you. Uncertainty makes people squirrely, and they start looking at their options.
And they're getting calls more than ever, right? Like, my agents text me, gosh, almost daily. I get a text from an agent with a screenshot of a text message, a transcript of a voicemail. My agents are getting called every single day. And I know the three of us are also making outbound calls on a recruiting level every single day, right? And so if you're not having the conversations with your agents, I promise you someone else is. If you're not leading from the front, giving time, sharing knowledge and resource, somebody else is.
Gary Vee has the famous quote, "Scale the unscalable." With Lisa, we were sitting in a mastermind in Dallas recently that Tom skipped out on, and there was the broker from Detroit. I'm blanking on his name.
I think I met this guy at Elite. Yeah,
Adam. Yeah. What's the last name?
I'm pretty sure it's Oberski, Oberski.
I met Adam. Good dude.
The brokerage? He's got an independent brokerage. Do we know the name?
I think he owns some C2 ones. I could be wrong.
That's him. Yeah, that's him. He's up in Detroit, right?
Yeah,
he's in Detroit. So he owns some Century 21s in Detroit. Really impressive broker. First time I got to spend any time with him, and I think it was like 400 or 500 agents across his offices. And he does what Gary Vee said. He always scales the unscalable. Every week he talks to 100 plus of his agents. And people are like, "Whoa, how do you do it?" I just do it. I have a list. I work through it. Make sure he's talking to every single agent at least once a month from that CEO brokerage level.
Yep.
There's the one-to-many opportunities as well, and it's a shame that you don't see more leaders stepping up right now. And I'm talking about the big ones. You guys know who you are. I know a bunch of you are listening to this right now. And so hopefully you use this as an opportunity to go and change some of the actions that you're taking each week.
But I think it's important no matter the size of your organization, right? You can talk about the big ones, but you can talk about those that are sitting around our size. And I think it's important even for those small teams, the SEAL teams, right? 4 or 5 agents, where everybody always says, but we're family and I don't need to treat things like that. And I promise you, not always the case. And you still need to be super present and lead from the front.
A family style business is so risky. I mean, it's just, if you're going to run your business like that, then what happens to accountability and standards? Like, I want you to think about this, right? Think about like a relative. We've probably all had one, or you had someone, and like, they've got a major problem going on in their life. Like, it's like imagine like an addiction problem, right? Well, if someone had an addiction problem at work, you're probably not keeping them around unless they're getting help and doing the right things. But with family, you're going to tolerate that to a level that can be very uncomfortable and damaging to other people. So I think there is a real challenge with that mindset, because you can't hold people to standards than you can in a family versus a business environment. If
you're thinking about a family style team, every time they say we're family, it makes me cringe. Or if you're thinking about joining a family style team, I'd actually encourage you to go talk to some family businesses. There's always dynamics that they're only really in the family business because of their bloodline. Go talk. Where I grew up in Connecticut, there's a whole bunch of Greek pizza shops, and I became friends with I always become friends with the restaurant folks because I think they work so hard, and I love the way that these restaurants provide a great level of customer service. And it's so funny to listen. You got one person brings, in Connecticut, we call a sub grinder. They bring you a grinder, to be like the niece. She'd be like, oh my gosh, my grandfather is just, he's driving me nuts today. Then he'll come out, hey, how's the grinder? Man, my niece, she doesn't show up on time. They're just all like complaining about each other the whole time. That's the dynamic of a family business. There's a lot of extra baggage that could come with it. And it's harder to operate with the true standards, like you mentioned, Tom.
I'm part of a family business, and the only reason,
Tom knows.
So what we did, I did this very early on, because no matter what you say, when I got into the business, I'm in my 19, 20. I'm not listening to my dad. I don't think he knows what he's talking about, and I did it on my own, and that was probably better for both of us. Where it was a real independent single agent model, and we've got our team, and I run that. He's got the brokerage, and it is basically like almost 2 separate companies that are operating. I mean, Lisa's been to my office. I mean, this is a team office where we are.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other side of it that's for the brokerage for a reason, and that worked. But now that we've had to do some things, and I've had some problems where, hey, we got a 30-minute meeting, and my dad comes in and he's talking bullshit for 20 minutes. And I'm like, all right, your time is allotted here. I have another meeting to go to, and he doesn't want to hear it. And I'm like, dude, I got a schedule, man. There's somebody coming in here to meet with me. And that's a mild challenge. Doug Edrington, our good friend Doug, he's had a lot of pain points. I mean, I told him about this, and he goes, hey, if you need some therapy or some venting, just call me, because he's been through it all, because they really work together with his family.
When you start to grow a team, and it's a small team in the beginning, it can feel like a family, because you've got 3 or 4 people that maybe been working for you with you for 2 or 3 years, and it feels very close or whatever. And you start to say, well, we're a family. Well, in 5 years, when you go to scale that thing, the expectation from the people who were with you from the beginning is, wait a minute, we're growing. I didn't think you were going to start adopting a whole bunch of kids that are going to get the same benefits and be able to live up to the same standards that I do. I want special treatment because you actually birthed me, and you're now, basically this kid's 16 years old, and you're bringing him in for the last 2-year run of high school. It's not fair, right? And you get into all of these issues with that when you go to scale your business or become more profitable or profitable at all, right? A lot of these family run teams, if they really look at their numbers, they're losing money. They'd be better off just being a solo agent and building around them. A lot of cases, when I look at these 3-4 person teams, I'm like, hey, keep your assistant. She's incredible. Get rid of the 3 that are draining you, and go get a second assistant, you're going to be way more profitable that way.
Ego, though, it gets in the way.
Oh.
I think the other risk too, just to point out, and I know it's something I spoke to you guys, I remember back in that fateful day in Dallas, there's so much risk to being those family style teams, because if you lose 2 out of your 4 agents, financially, it can be catastrophic.
Yeah. And if you think about that, okay, if I'm a 4-person team and I lose 2 of my agents, it can, if I am running somewhat profitability, you know, and,
Right.
and 2 of them now bounce out, and I look, boom, that's a huge hurdle to overcome on the P&L, as opposed to when you see top agents in any market, there's a whole bunch of them sitting right behind me here in their offices in Naples, Florida. You get these top luxury agents in particular, they build around their skill set of being the best at going on these listing presentations. You know, a marketing listing coordinator, a transaction coordinator in-house, by the way, the ones that are outsourcing their transaction business, not a good idea. I could get into that another time, but they build 2 or 3 assistants around them. They lose 1 assistant. Okay, I go hire, recruit another great assistant. That's an easier deal to replace than a sales activity.
Mm-hmm. Could not agree more. Well said.
We got a couple of things before we got to sign off.
We got a hard stop here.
Yeah.
So great news, or I would say a step in the right direction. I don't know if I want to go great news yet on this Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac news that dropped on tax day out of all days. So on Monday, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac issued a notice stating that buyer agent commissions will not be included in a cap on interested party contributions per current policies. And this guidance comes after NAR and MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association, submitted a letter along with the Federal Housing Financing Agency and Federal Housing Authority seeking clarification on existing rules. The short of it, it was a very clear letter. It was only 2 paragraphs, just about as long as the Wall Street Journal piece, and much more informative. So we are aware of the proposed settlement agreement subject to court approval announced by NAR in the Burnett et al. And Merle et al. Cases. If a seller or a seller's real estate agent continues to pay the buyer's real estate agent commission in accordance with local and common customary practices, these amounts are not required to be counted towards the IPC limits for the transaction. So I think I talked to a couple lenders about this. It's a step in the right direction. We need some more clarity on this, but if they're going to remove that from the allowable seller concessions,
well, they're not removing it. It was never. It was. They're just clarifying that they're
clarifying that it's not. Yeah, it's not anything that's done yet from the people I've talked to about this, but the customary contribution that's the sticking point in the statement, because is it customary? Isn't it customary? That's where it's going right now. That's the big debate from the multiple lenders that I've spoken to.
I think the bigger thing that needs to happen, I kind of think this was fluff, if you want my honest opinion. I think that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I look at it. I'm in the middle here. I think it's a step that's going the right direction from the people that I've spoken to.
Go ahead, Lisa. I don't think it's fluff. I'll respond after.
Okay. I think that really where we need to be moving towards is not in the. I think that this protects based upon the proposed settlement where sellers can still pay a portion of the commission. What I think it's leaving totally naked is if the DOJ gets their way and sellers cannot pay the commission. And what we actually need to be doing then is looking at how do we increase loan to value ratios or make some allowances so that consumers can roll the commission into their financing. And that's my honest opinion. I think that this is just kind of an appeasement in the short term, but isn't really addressing what could be the real big disruption.
Okay. I agree with you that if, which we don't know.
Correct.
If DOJ potentially gets their way and buyers are going to need to finance in what you're talking about, financing in their buyer agent comp into the deal, the banks will have to respond to that and how to make that work. But what I'm seeing here is a big deal, because we covered this when it was what was it? FHA was the first one to say the same thing that Fannie and Freddie are saying, right? So FHA said it a few weeks ago. Now Fannie and Freddie are saying, hey, agent commission's not counted towards IPC limits. What these banking Fannie, Freddie, FHA are saying is we are behind the buyer agent Okay. In none of their verbiage have they said, unlike others, that we want this now to reduce buyer agent availability or buyer agent compensation. What they have said here loud and clearly is there is a pathway for the great buyer agents in this country to be compensated what they negotiate their worth is. And so I find this as being a very supportive piece of commentary from Fannie and Freddie.
All
That
right.
they want to see
I'll see your
buyer
point
agents.
there, but I think that there's still a long way to go before. I guess my fear is that agents see this and think that it's like safe
Oh, yeah.
water, and that's
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, nothing is over. I mean, listen, this article on nowbam.com does a great job saying, hey, this is just the Morel Burnett et al. Morel, but we know that just last week they said you can't wrap all the cases in. So it's like there's so much uncertainties now that could get changed, obviously, as these proposed settlements move forward. But yeah, I don't want agents to think anything is finalized. We're still going through the process. But unlike others in the industry, the banking side of things, FHA, Fannie, Freddie, have been advocates of buyer agents and buyer agent compensation so far. They said nothing to the contrary. And I like them getting out as opposed to being non-commentary. We'll see where it all goes. You see brokers doing this all the time. Well, we'll see what actually happens with the settlement. They're getting out in front. Hey, they're clarifying where they stand now. Things can always change to both your points later, but they're taking a stance. And this is a stance that is a benefit to buyers across the country, all consumers, as well as, of course, agents.
I've got a source. It's a former C-level executive at DTEC. So not a bad source. This is their interpretation of it. It doesn't mean that you can finance the commission, at least not yet. But what it does mean is that on an average conventional deal, you are capped at X percentage assist. This says that the concession for buyer's agent comp doesn't get factored into that number. So as long as an appraisal is good, you could have a seller concession and the seller can still pay the commission for the buy side agent. It's a baby step, but important nonetheless. So I think that's a pretty good assessment.
The seller could pay it. So the seller could have concessions, but between 2 and 9% of the property's value towards buyer and closing costs. And now the commissions, not now, but still today.
Yes.
Clarification is the commissions can go on top of that 9%. So you could see a seller concession upwards on these conventional loans of $30,000, in some case, you could see big numbers, but for a seller who sees this is the net number I want to get to, how do we make the numbers work so I can get the right buyer on my terms in a competitive environment? How do I position my property to get to where I want to go? The seller, I've never met a seller that cares about what the concessions are if they're getting to their desired net. And that's what it's all about, making a deal come together where, hey, we've negotiated these terms. Both parties are getting their win out of it. And then the people that are supporting and servicing this deal are being compensated fairly. I see Fannie and Freddie being supportive of a free market that involves negotiation, that involves a seller and a buyer having the freedom to make a deal work. And so I think this is a good thing. Do we want to finish with any reaction to Powell's comments this week?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes. We can cover it. So the AP reports and a lot of other people that on Tuesday, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, he persistently elevated inflation will likely delay any Fed interest cuts until later this year, opening a door for higher for longer rates. Here's what he said. Recent data have clearly not given us greater confidence. And instead indicate that it's likely to take longer than expected to achieve that confidence. He goes on here, but basically, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. And Byron, you've been adamant about this. That these agents saying, "Hey, the rate drops are coming. Rates are going to be in the 5s the end of the year." That's bad advice, and you need to be very careful there. Now, that's pretty clear. Rates went up. I mean, what are you guys getting quoted locally? We're seeing like 7 1/8 today or yesterday. I mean, that's a local number.
They're about the same.
I'm hearing 7.5 with good credit.
That's why you got to look local. That's the best advice there. I mean, these are we get a rate quote every day from our lenders that we work with. Point is though,
I would double
they've jumped up.
7 1/8 is best case scenario.
Right.
Can you
Yeah,
get 7
exactly.
1/8? Can you get 7? Like they did a Chaffa loan that was 6.8, our lender recently, but there's scenarios where you can go lower, but if you have just below average credit, you're closer to 7 3/4 than you are 7 1/4 right now with below average credit. The likelihood of a June cut is now 18.8%, according to CME Group Watch Fed Tool, and Jerome Powell pretty hawkish in his tone that they're not going to be moving any cuts. The other things that are going to impact Jerome Powell's decision making here is oil prices. They're getting back to high. People are going to feel that. So right now it's like, okay, inflation's been going down, it's been going up the last 3 months, and people feel it in some instances. When oil goes up, everybody feels it because you feel it at the pump. You feel it in a lot of the consumer goods that you buy because a lot of plastics and these types of things start with oil. You're going to feel it in your deliveries, packages being delivered to your house, Uber Eats, Uber rides, all of these things the consumer will feel. So as the consumer has the constraints of inflation, as regional banks have this restriction here with these higher rates, there's also an argument that they might get so restrictive that maybe Jerome Powell has to react, but if inflation takes off, he's stuck in a position where he can't react. Logan Motoshami, who we've spoken to before on the pod, he stays steadfast. You're not going to see these rates move until the labor market breaks. That's a hard thing to root for because that essentially means people lose jobs, or the job market's certainly not as robust. So, listen, what I've said since we did our predictions, the end of December, January 1, remains unchanged. Survive till 25. You're not going to see rates significantly lower. Everybody that put out a video that said 5% rates in Q1 are, back in Q1 that are coming this year, go delete that video because that was really bad advice.
All right, we covered a lot here. I got a hard stop in 2 minutes, you two. So anything you want to leave with here?
Damian, looking forward to having you on the pod in a few weeks.
It is all love, though. I need to say that it is all love. So
100%.
You've got to take feedback if you want to be a public figure and you want to be the CEO of a large company. And we wouldn't be doing our job. That's what we're here for, to spread the knowledge.
Listen,
so
nobody would listen to this pod, and the day we get up here and it sounds like we're, basically being a stool for some message.
Without a doubt.
I can say one thing that I respect the heck out of them. I like their leads the best and all this kind of stuff. And then also say
they missed the mark on the message.
That they missed the mark. And so if we're not delivering those things on Knowledge Brokers Pod, is the day you should unsubscribe. But since we don't do that and we never will, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you never have. Appreciate you guys.
Maybe a review if you're up to it. And that's Byron. That's the greatest gift you can give somebody. It's accountability. See you guys next week.
See you guys. We know that in 2024, your business operations will be more important than ever. Once I figured this out, my business was able to scale and take off. See, generating leads is one thing, but getting that deal across the finish line while keeping everyone happy is another story. Enter Mosaic, everything you need once a lead becomes a client. Mosaic picks up where CRMs leave off to streamline the client experience and maximize your productivity. It's the operating platform that gives agents and teams everything they need to stay organized and proactive throughout the entire transaction process and beyond. Transaction management, forms, AI-powered collaborative search, client retention capabilities, and advanced analytics for your business. In other words, you can use Mosaic to create a powerful flywheel for your business. It will help you close every deal, boost your profitability, and generate more repeat and referral business. If you need a better way to run your business, check out the link below and learn how Mosaic can help you today. At BMX, we listen to what real estate professionals want and need. That's why our platform is filled with sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business. And that's why we launched BMX in a box with templates and scripts done for you, delivered each Friday. The best part? It's not coming from panel pontificators who bought their followers and don't sell any real estate. It's coming from top agents, team leaders, and content creators in the industry. It's education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. And now it includes editable templates and scripts so you can easily deliver that knowledge to your database. Every day, we continue to add more content into BMX, into our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. Do not wait any longer. Use code KNOWLEDGEBROKERS and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Use Knowledge Brokers for 10% off. See you in BMX.